I'd like to know who was the driving force behind Orquesta del Desierto, because I spoke with Mario Lally a couple months ago, and he said it was pretty much just a sessions thing. So I want to know who was the brains behind the entire operation.
Mario is one of my all-time favorite guitarists, and that's the reason why I became involved with that project. The driving force of that project was Steve Brown, and I didn't know the guy, and he asked me to be involved with that recording, and when I knew that Mario was going to be involved with it, I jumped at the chance, even though I didn't know Steve or I didn't know Mike Riley. I turned out loving working with those guys and creating with them, but the reason why I got involved with that project was because Mario was in it, and I always wanted to be in a band with Mario. And so that's how that came about. But Steve Brown, Danny Brown, is a guy that was a driving force, and finally, after the second record, we finally got a chance to go on tour over in Europe, and I got to go on stage with Mario, which was just a dream come true for me, because he's one of my all-time favorite guitar players.
You mentioned Europe, and I've always wanted to know what the big difference between the United States and Europe goes, because a lot of these bands that play the type of music that I play on this show, the type of music that you play, seem to have a bigger following out there. There's more extensive tours and whatnot.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Interesting. There's just been a circuit in Europe for a long time. A lot of the venues there, especially in the past, supported by the government to a certain, actually subsidized by the government. It's kind of a complicated question, but they just know how to treat musicians over there, and the circuit is a long-time vibrant scene that encourages that. So it's easy for bands from the States to go over there and break even or actually make some money and get treated well. Where here in the States, there's just that circuit is not there. You have your regular touring circuit, but it's brutal, and you don't get treated with respect as an artist or a musician, and it's just really difficult, and it's just, that's the way it is.
That's unfortunate, because there's only one real venue near where I live, and that's down in Philly, which is about 2 hours away from me, and that's the only venue that ever has heavier bands. Like I saw Earthless back there, Baroness played, and
and it's
whatnot.
funny because in Europe you can easily go play in a small town, and you can make it worth your while financially, and you'll get treated right, and they'll put you up and they'll feed you, which are the basic things as far as a working musician needs, is to be put up and fed and play, and there is that circuit there, and you'll find with other genres of music, and this has been going on for a long time, blues and jazz artists go to Europe that can't do business here, and they'll do okay there. They'll be able to make a living at it, and it's not reciprocal. It's like European musicians do not have that gift here in America that we have there.
Well, how are the European musicians there? Do they? I mean, of course they do the circuit, but when you guys come over, are you opening for them, or are they opening for you?
No, generally, obviously it's a big deal when a band comes from the States over there, but I think for the most part, those you play with bands that are over there, but those circuits exist for European bands, and then there's I think that they kind of, from a financial aspect, those shows are in a way, the working musicians over there, those are separate, because you have to pay the U.S. band, so to speak. So then they would not normally have like a big European band on this. I'm kind of talking at the club level here, but so you'd have an opener or whatever, but you wouldn't necessarily be playing with the touring European bands, because they play on their own shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How big is the Roadburn Festival? Because whenever I try to look something up for it, or I mean, I obviously see what bands are playing, and it looks gigantic, but it's always clouded by foreign languages that I can't understand at all.
Well, it's interesting. I was not familiar with that festival previously, and I work in the touring business. I work for a management company and do tour production, and actually that's a festival I wasn't familiar with because none of the artists I work with had performed there. But and it's a good question and a good micronism of what you're talking about, because Roadburn actually happens in a small town. It's at Tilburg, which is about 2 hours south of Amsterdam. It's a small town. It's like smaller than Baltimore. It's kind of like where are you at?
Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like if you had a festival in Lancaster or something, a couple hours outside of D.C. I mean, but they have a venue there that is long established. It's an amazing venue. It probably has the best sound and lights of anywhere in Europe, and it's a venue called O13. I'm sure that it was built with city money. It's supported by the city, and the city supports it because it's a cultural center. And what there's a weekend where they have Roadburn, and then most of the time they have rock concerts there, but they also have other stuff there that the community supports. So it enables that kind of situation. But I think it's in its 5th or 6th year. It's a small town. It's a killer hang. It's a really great venue. It's like playing the Kennedy Center, dude. I mean, it's like, if you've seen pictures of it, it's beautiful. And it holds about 2,000 people, the main room does, and then there's a smaller room that holds about half that, and then they utilize other venues in the city, so it becomes a little kind of, festival that way. But it's a great little town. It's very easy for people to get there. You basically either fly in Amsterdam or you get there. It's really easy to get around Europe with the trains, and the main train station is just like a 10-minute walk from the festival. So people come from all over, and it's curated well. It's very specific, and it's very attractive to people that are into that kind of music. So it's happening. It's awesome because like right outside the venue is this one street that has like all these bars on it and cafes that are open outside, and it's just amazing. It's just a really great vibe and a good time.
That's wild that it's supported by the public money, because I could not imagine something like that happening in the States. Like, imagine if the Maryland Death Fest was supported by the community. Can you imagine the outrage?
Well, I've never been to Maryland Death Fest. I'm looking forward to doing it next year. And I think it's something similar, because I think the Ram's Head, which is, it is, if I'm not mistaken, is a similar sort of venue as O13, where there's two spaces, one main room and one smaller room, if I'm not mistaken. And but yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's the whole key as to why Europe has been a sanctuary for U.S. musicians going back, for 30 or 40 years. I mean, jazz musicians, blues musicians, punk musicians, and now metal musicians, and stoner rock musicians. It's like there is a circuit there, and even though it gets whittled away all the time, it started changing a lot when the EU happened, and it started to get more conservative over there. But definitely the communities in each of those towns feel it's very important to support the arts and support music and support their community, and to have a place for people to gather and create and be a part of the scene. And that is not, I mean, here it's a battle, people want to cut the arts. People want to tear down, National Public Radio. They don't want to support. They're getting ready to. They want to cut their national endowment for the arts. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely, it's a shame.
And people need to be aware, of that, and make sure it doesn't happen.
Well, 2010 was a pretty hectic year for you, playing with Goatsnake, Earthlings, and Scream. That's a lot of rehearsal time. Are there any plans to get in the studio with any of these groups?
Definitely. All those bands. I'm hoping. I'm always, I'm just a singer, so I'm just like, I'm hoping that Anderson's going to get together with Rogers and Reeder and do some recording, and I think that's going to happen. I know for sure Scream's going to. We have a whole record of stuff that we're just. It's just difficult because Skeeter and Kent live on the East Coast, and me and Fonz are out here, and we're playing with this guy Clint Walsh who lives out here too. And I think we're going to be recording in February. We actually did record last year a little bit, but not released any of it. But hoping to do something next year with them. And then Earthlings we're always doing stuff. And so, we released an EP last year called Humilian on Treasure Craft Records, and I expect to be doing some recording soon and put that stuff out next year. And then actually I think, we did a 17-song demo we did a couple demos that never saw the light of day, and I think there's a label that's going to be putting some of that out next year and on vinyl and digitally. And so that I think that's going to come out too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to 2011 as far as recording and putting new music out for sure.
Fantastic. I can't wait. And one last question I have to ask. Have you ever said no to something?
Yes, that's true. I mean, it's easy to say yes when you're jamming with your friends and the people that I'm fortunate enough to be involved with. But yeah, now and then people hit me up to do stuff, and frankly, most of the time when I say no, it's because I just don't have the time.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Pete Stahl, everyone. Thank you for coming on the program.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.